Cool. I think we can start now. Cool. So good morning, everyone, and welcome. Whether you're joining us from nearby or somewhere around the globe, we're thrilled to have you with us today. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that's at the heart of technological transformation. So we're looking into accelerating migration to enable innovation in AI. So in a world where the pace of change is not only fast, but also exponential, the ability to swiftly and efficiently migrate operations, data, and services is no longer just an option. It's a necessity for staying competitive, innovative, and responsive to evolving market demands. So in this webinar, we're going to be exploring the compelling reasons behind accelerating migration and the challenges it poses. And most importantly, how we at version1 rise to these challenges with our expertise and proven strategies. We want to share that with you. And through real-world case studies, we'll showcase how our approach has not only facilitated smoother migrations, but has also sparked innovation and harnessed the power of AI. So my name is Danish Mohammed. I'm a senior consultant in the Office of the CTO at version1, and I work primarily in the cloud discovery and innovation space. Today I'm presenting with Owen, who I'll hand over to now to talk through our agenda and a bit about version1. So over to you, Owen.
Thanks, Danish. So yeah, quick agenda for today's session. We're going to start with a little bit about us, who we are, the kind of work we do. I'll hand back over to Danish, who'll talk you through why accelerate migration, some of the challenges that we come across when we're taking on migration work and how we overcome that. We're going to talk through a couple of case studies and then we'll wrap up and we'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions at the end. So who are we, first of all? version1 was founded in 1996. We had 5 full-time employees in our first year of trading, and since then we've just kept growing. Today we have over 3,000 people. We're very proud of the quality of talent we employ. We have them across 12 global locations. We've been rated as a great place to work for 12 years. Here at version1, we always put the customer first. We think that the best evidence of that is in our high customer satisfaction scores, which you can see a bit about on this slide, and also in the fact that we have a 98% customer retention rate across our entire history. We provide a full set of services across the technology sector, and we hold a number of strategic technology partnerships which help us to deliver the best outcomes and value for our customers. So one of those I want to focus on right now is AWS. So as an AWS Premier Partner, we have a strong relationship that allows us to work with AWS to better support our customers in a number of ways, from service delivery and transformation through to cost control and billing. We have over 600 dedicated cloud and DevOps engineers who hold around 500 certifications and accreditations between them. And that's really just the people who have cloud in their job title. We have a huge amount of cloud experience across the business, and we can bring in certified and experienced people to support with all kinds of challenges. As part of that relationship with AWS, we hold a number of competencies, including the DevOps competency, Oracle, managed services. We're an official managed services partner with our Aspire managed service offering. And of course, one of the key competencies that we're going to talk about a bit today is migration services. In fact, we were named AWS Migration Partner of the Year in 2022 across the EMEA region. We are MAP accredited, which means that we can ensure that migrations are done in a structured way, following best practice at speed and with low risk. One of the nice benefits of the MAP program is that we can use that relationship with AWS to unlock funding for our customers to support migration. So for example, we recently unlocked around $490,000 for a customer in a particularly large migration to AWS. So that's a little bit about us, about what we do, and I'll hand over to Danish now to take you through the interesting bits.
Thanks, Owen. So I'm going to start this section of the webinar by talking about why we need to accelerate migration. So for this, I'm going to lean on Brad, who's our CTO at version1. And this quote from him really sums it up pretty well. So cloud is both the foundation and accelerator to unlock new or deliver enhanced business value through innovation. So utilizing the cloud is really the first step of the journey. And if you haven't already, now is the time to consider migration as both an enabler and an accelerator. And it all starts with a migration project. Now, obviously, I say that very casually, but these projects are really complex and difficult. So let's consider some of the statistics. What is the data saying? 83% of migration projects fail, And what's even more concerning, more than half exceed their initial budgets. So this data from Gartner really underscores the challenges surrounding these projects. So why exactly are they so challenging? Well, we've identified a couple of reasons. The first one, complexity. So migrations are inherently intricate. They're not just about moving something from point A to point B. They involve intricate planning, assessing legacy systems, and ensuring that data integrity throughout that process. They can take diverse paths as well. There's no one size fits all when it comes to migration, and depending on your existing infrastructure and future goals, migrations can take on various different paths, and each one of these come with their unique set of challenges. Next, they can often be hidden issues. So when you're doing this project, you can also find concealed problems like technical debt. And essentially, this is the cost of additional rework caused by opting for an easier or quicker solution instead of using a better approach that might take longer. Finally, there can be constraints, whether that's time or budget, or often both of those things. As with any project, unexpected challenges can arise, and these push the boundaries of your set timelines and budgets even further. What we're seeing at version 1 is that migration is no longer just about rehosting from on-prem to cloud. It's about delivering value from operational agility to business change. And we're seeing more and more customers looking to drive a modernization agenda through cloud migration. And this can be from platform modernization to application modernization. Migration is also a lead to identifying value through the innovation that the cloud can provide. We're seeing that cloud native architectures are driving better result than just rehosting or even modernizing the monolith. Finally, with the rise of things like generative AI, part of the new agenda of modernization and innovation is to look at where there can be beneficial use cases for AI within your on-premise portfolio and operations that the cloud could help accelerate, trial, test, and prove the value. So we not only want to de-risk these migrations, but also accelerate them to unlock that value in the cloud. So how do we do this? Well, we've identified 3 main challenges that are faced in the migration journey, and we're going to go into detail about these in the webinar. So the first one, migrating to the cloud, and this often happens at scale, maximizing the value from migrating, and effectively embedding innovation in AI. So I want to emphasize that these aren't isolated problems, they're interconnected. And we really believe that the key to addressing them lies in a comprehensive approach to discovery. And this is because by thoroughly understanding our current landscape and desired outcomes, we can weave a strategy that addresses these challenges holistically, ensuring a smoother migration and maximize returns. So as we progress further, I'm going to talk a bit about how we at version 1 champion this approach, aligning our discovery to address these challenges. But let's explore them in more detail on what actually makes them challenges in the first place. So the first one, migrating to the cloud. And like I said earlier, this often can happen at scale. The first one is application complexity. So the State of Cloud report states that nearly half of the respondents identified understanding the application dependencies as their primary obstacle in cloud migration. And this really makes sense because as our IT systems have evolved, they've become more intricate, and as they become more intricate, they have more interdependencies. And when we think about moving them to the cloud, understanding these intricacies and dependencies is really important and really difficult task to do. Closely following application complexity is the challenge of technical feasibility. So 46% of respondents in the same survey highlighted that the intricacies of assessing whether a given application or system is technically ready and compatible for a cloud environment is difficult. So this makes sense because, as our systems have evolved, as new cloud services have come out, it's more difficult to understand how your system or application can land on the cloud as well. Next, we have compelling events. Now, while at the core, these are technical challenges, we have to recognize that external factors can add urgency to our migration projects. And these factors can be things like data center exits or impeding obsolescence of certain platforms. They're often compelling events that push organizations to migrate. However, these events can sometimes rush the process, and that adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging task. Finally, as organizations grow and evolve, not all their systems and applications can age gracefully. Some become cloud hostile, demanding an uplift or even a complete replatforming. And this technical debt can be a significant bottleneck, leading to increased costs, delays, and sometimes even derailing the whole migration objective. So the next challenge I want to go into a bit more detail, maximizing the value from migrating. the shift to the cloud is not just about relocation, right? It's about maximizing the return on investment and really harnessing the true power that the cloud has to offer. So a straightforward lift and shift strategy, or simply rehosting applications, is quickly becoming obsolete. While it may seem like a quick win, it doesn't unlock the full potential of cloud capabilities. As Gartner points out, this approach often leads to the lowest ROI of any cloud migration strategy. And the reason for this kind of makes sense. It's because it bypasses the unique value-adding features that the cloud environment has to offer. Next one, I want a piece of the action. So the cloud arena, especially with giants like AWS, is quickly evolving, and it's only evolving faster. With the overwhelming number of services that are available today and the countless new ones that are released annually, businesses can't afford to sit on the sideline. It becomes difficult to understand, how do these new services fit to something that I can use that can add value to my business? As we migrate, we see that there's not only an emphasis on moving, but also upgrading. So addressing technical debt and modernizing platforms have become standard practices, and it isn't a luxury. It's a necessity to ensure that we're not carrying forward legacy challenges into a new environment, and that becomes difficult because you need to manage it effectively and efficiently. Parallel to platform modernization, there's a rising trend in application modernization as well. What we're seeing with our clients, they're actively seeking migration strategies that spotlight modernization opportunities, and spotting these becomes pretty difficult, especially on large portfolios. Finally, our third challenge, effectively embedding innovation in AI. Firstly, there's a lot to choose from. So in today's market, making informed decisions is really difficult. In the State of Cloud report, it said that only 44% of organizations adopt the latest cloud projects. So those that do can benefit from the innovation they bring, and to stay ahead, organizations need to be choosing the tools and technologies that align with their goals and visions. The next one, cloud provides accessibility. So traditional data centers posed a pretty significant barrier to access these emerging technologies like generative AI. Now, cloud has massively increased the accessibility to these technologies, but you have to design around that, and you have to make sure that your organization is ready for that. The need for Kickstart is the next one. So if you're only now considering migration, the likelihood is that you might not be thinking about how to harness the cloud for innovation. And our message is simple. You need to be doing this or you'll be left behind. And sometimes it's difficult to understand how you can quickly adopt and implement these opportunities. Finally, I touched on this a little bit earlier, the organization challenge. Integrating innovation and technologies like Gen AI is not just about having the right tools. It demands a holistic approach, and organizations need to understand that identifying these problems, crafting compelling use cases, and building a solid business case is a long journey, and it's a journey of alignment, adaptation, and anticipation. So now that we understand those challenges, I want you to keep them in mind when we're talking about our discovery approach and all the other parts of this webinar. So I want to start by how we rise to this challenge. And I mentioned earlier that a successful discovery is the prerequisite to addressing all of these. So let's examine why it's so vital. So from the migration lens, at the heart of any successful migration is the step of discovery. And this step is the foundation that allows us to comprehend the nature of migration and ensure that the move is efficient and de-risked as much as possible. From a modernization lens, with technology constantly advancing, organizations often find themselves building a lot of technical debt, and it's during the discovery phase that we can identify these liabilities and seek opportunities for meaningful change. By quantifying the risks and opportunities, we can make informed decisions that feed into modernization. Looking at this through innovation and transformation, the landscape is really competitive. And to really stand out, it's not just enough to keep pace. We need to be able to leapfrog competition. And this demands a thorough discovery process, pinpointing key use cases and executing them successfully. And don't take this from us, AWS Map Assess Aligned. So discovery and assessment is such a key part of migration that as part of the AWS Map framework, the assess phase is in itself basically a discovery. And the data shows us from AWS that 70% of these engagements that follow the assess phase, so complete the discovery, lead to the customer proceeding with the migration work. From the point of building a business case, crafting one is not just about numbers. It's about understanding. And discovery allows us to identify things like migration patterns, constraints, opportunities, ensuring that our business case isn't just strong, but also relevant and actionable. Finally, from the organizational lens, as we transition into the cloud and embrace change, it's important to have a holistic view. So discovery delves deep into the aspects of governance, process, and people, ensuring that the organization is well prepped for what lies ahead. This slide sort of articulates our overall discovery approach, and these are the most common questions that we're usually seeing. As a service provider across the customers when it comes to cloud migration, very often they're asking which options are available to them and how they should migrate, where to start the migration, where do the priorities lie within that migration process, what sequencing they should follow in terms of when to migrate certain workloads over other workloads, how do they prioritize those, what patterns and remediations they might have to carry out across the estate as part of the migration process. And finally, what resources do you need? And also the organizational change aspect of that migration. Do they have the skills and capability to receive those migrated workloads back into the business to carry on business as usual and also carry on with support and maintenance? Do they have they have to consider the skills and readiness of their own people? So I mentioned discovery should cover a lot of different things. It isn't just about capturing the inventory of servers and applications. It's about very much looking at your portfolio through the various lenses that you can see on the right-hand side of this slide. If I take maybe one that's a more obvious one, let's look at the benefits sought. So why are you doing the migration? Very often customers have a compelling event, but it's important to understand that from the outset, what benefits you're seeking from the migration overall. And those benefits may vary between different workloads in the portfolio as well. There may be a case to modernize as part of the migration, which I'll come on to talk about, and there may be even a case to innovate as part of the migration, or to leapfrog the competition or gain some sort of commercial benefit. Another example of one of these lenses would be best practice. So there's no point in migrating rubbish from on-prem into the cloud because it will still be rubbish in the cloud. You want to have a look at how you're applying best practice operations as part of your migration process to ensure that your workloads are then managed and operated most efficiently once they land in the cloud. And a good example of an outlier here is communications. So very often we find that organizations who are going through large migrations, communications across their business is absolutely key. So having a clear communications plan about how this migration will evolve, talking to your application owners, your stakeholders, your HR and finance. If you think about FinOps, for example, ensuring finance and procurement are well aware of these changes as part of migrating to cloud. It's part of the communications plan where you'll have to put this together. And obviously that's over and above all what you would usually do as standard, which is collecting your infrastructure, inventory, your application inventory, and understanding what your migration waves and sequencing might be. This slide articulates the next level of detail in terms of activities as part of a discovery. But it's important to know that discovery isn't the end in itself. Discovery is only a means to an end. And once we're going through some of the key activities over the three key stages here, it's important to know that it should be time boxed. It could be iterative, so meaning you could go through part of your portfolio and then go through another part of your portfolio rather than doing it all in one go. But it's important to understand that discovery as an exercise is not the end goal. It's the foundation for the onward migration and indeed the onward adoption of cloud. And in this webinar, because we're looking at modernization and innovation, discovery is a key element of trying to identify where that opportunity lies within your current portfolio. An example of this, an overview of these activities without going into too much detail, it's really just three main steps. So the first step, discover. That's really where you collect and collate all of your data about your portfolio. And as I've discussed on the previous slide, this isn't just infrastructure. It's about your business applications and your business needs and goals. Then in the assess phase, we're assessing that data and understand what it's telling us and what it means. And then finally, in the action phase, we can turn this into a migration roadmap or indeed a cloud adoption roadmap. And it's from this process you can identify opportunity for both platform modernization and application modernization and build any associated business case around that. It's important to know that this process you can cover areas where innovation could apply, particularly if you're looking at things like generative AI. These can come out of the woodworks as part of this process. And again, if you can establish that there's a use case there, there's an ability to take that use case, and I'll be speaking about that further in this webinar as part of the AI part. Now, before anyone asks, this isn't about boiling the ocean, right? The approach in principle is to collect just enough. We don't need every nth level of detail. We just need enough to make an informed decision. And I mentioned that this should be time boxed, so we want to use automated tooling where it's available to speed up the data collection. I'm really happy to kind of showcase this here, but at version 1, we've developed an in-house tool that supports this methodology to provide a quality foundation for discovery and onward migration planning. So we don't have too long, we only have an hour today. I just want to quickly show you this demo of the portfolio assessment tool that we've created to accelerate this process.
From our experience, the most challenging aspect of migration or modernization projects is seldom the migration itself, but the initial stages of discovery, assessment, and planning. Managing dependencies, completing data, and aligning stakeholders are complex and manual tasks, and traditional methods can lead to information fragmentation. Built on lessons learned, our portfolio assessment tool streamlines all this, allowing you to collaboratively manage your IT estate efficiently for a more successful migration and modernization. This is accelerating discovery and migrations with Portfolio Assessment Tool. Add a customer to bring their portfolio into the system by uploading their discovery data. PAT supports data collected via Azure Migrate Assessment and AWS Migration Evaluator. Furthermore, you can utilize our custom template to collate data over workshops and iteratively keep your portfolio discovery data up to date on PAT. Explore a customer's portfolio from an application's point of view to start with. Check out the related entities and their properties. If required, make some edits as well. When planning your migrations, map out your waves and objects to be migrated on PAT. PAT can help with your planning by showing you the state of the related entities of the objects you intend to include in a wave. To include objects in a wave, use the grid or the graph itself. You can add, remove, and even move objects to and from your waves. Get a glimpse of the customer's portfolio in numbers, or the fabric of applications within the portfolio. Through workshops with customer, identify their business capabilities, add them to PAT, associate the applications to these capabilities, and find out how the state of these applications roll up to the business capabilities through the lens of technical debt, migration status. An assembly of visuals to give you a sense of the customer's portfolio assessment, application criticality, technology spread, operating system spread, utilization figures, database storage, to name a few. An ongoing migration project. Is it on track? How is the burn down looking? How are the waves stacking up? All this and much more for an accelerated discovery and migration with Portfolio Assessment Tool.
Cool. So zooming in a little bit more to our second challenge, which is maximizing value from migration. To link this to discovery, if it is a modernization effort, having gone through the process, you may identify some applications that are good targets for modernization. Indeed, because there's maybe a business case to modernize, or it might be compelling to do so because there's business value in the modernization of those applications. So you need to make sure that application modernization is not just a technological transformation, that it's intrinsically tied to the business. It's about aligning IT needs with business needs. And you shouldn't think of this as a one-time event. There's always a continuous need to modernize applications to stay competitive. Usually, if you are facing a compelling event, our advice is to start by rehosting to an IaaS-based solution to get your applications onto the cloud. But linking this back to our discovery, some applications might not be cloud friendly, and it's during the discovery process that we can accelerate this by finding it out early. We can then consider one of the 7 R strategies from AWS to go forward with that application. With the number of applications in the average portfolio, it's essential to prioritize these. So our recommendation is to start with the mission critical workloads. And these are the ones that will deliver the most bang for your buck inside of the value stream, which I'll talk over in the next slide. It's important to understand that the immediate modernization might not yield maximum benefits. There are times when a lift to shift approach might be the initial step, but the real value emerges as we transition into PaaS offerings in the cloud. So the core principles we want to follow to guide this approach is we want it to be a business-led transformation, right? Any transformation that we take, it should not just be purely technical for the sake of technology. It's about ensuring that our tech-driven solutions mirror our business aspirations and are designed to fulfill specific objectives. Similarly to this, we want to have a relentless focus on business value. So value creation remains our North Star. Every initiative, every project, and every task we undertake is gauged against the value it's bringing in. And this focus ensures that our efforts give us results that are meaningful. Next, we want to release value quickly. So speed is really important. You want to try to release value at the earliest opportunity, and then this in turn will build momentum for subsequent efforts. Next, we want to apply user-centered design. So at the heart of any successful initiative are the users. By adopting this approach, our solutions are more intuitive, user-friendly, and tailored to meet the unique needs of the people that are using them. Because at the end of the day, any solution is only as good as its adoption rate. Finally, we want to measure return on investment because for every initiative, our aim is to establish clear metrics that measure this. And this not only validates our efforts, but it also provides valuable insights to guide our future opportunities. I mentioned about maximizing outcomes by aligning efforts with business needs, and this is where value stream mapping plays a crucial role. So you can think of value streams as a step-by-step journey of a service that shows us the different stages involved, and it helps us see how things flow and where we can make them better. So our advice is to perform a value stream mapping exercise to understand and align your application portfolio to your value streams. So then you can focus on your mission critical value streams and focus on the applications that feed into that. One of the questions we get about this approach is this an output of discovery? Now, this could be an output of discovery, or you could run it in parallel, but it always starts with identifying applications where there is a need for modernization, and that comes out of discovery, then this activity takes it to the next level of detail. If you're discovering your portfolio, once you're looking at your portfolio from a business lens, you can then spot opportunities for innovation. For example, where AI could add value. So this kind of brings us on to our third challenge. As well as that, as part of the discovery process, I mentioned you may have identified some use cases where innovation or AI could be implemented. So at version 1, to address the challenge of the need for Kickstart, to kickstart your AI journey, we offer this set piece to implement and adopt AI technologies quickly. And it starts with in a workshop we call Inspire, which is really just exploring the art of the possible, where we go through some of the use cases that are popular with our customers, just go through some live demos with some SMEs so you can really see what's going on in the AI space. We then follow up with the Ignite workshop, and this is about focusing on a problem and working backwards. And then we really find and explore a use case that could add value to your business, and then create a shared vision around this so we can align technical and non-technical stakeholders. Remember how I mentioned the challenge of organizational aspect? That's kind of what this is focused on. Finally, we'll showcase our idea for the proof of concept. We'll validate that vision, and then once we have the go-ahead, we go on to moving into building the proof of concept in sprints. I'm very proud to say that, with this, how we've been doing it so far, we're able to build an AI proof of concept within 2 bi-weekly sprints. So that's 4 weeks total, because we really want to get customers on that journey quickly so they can see the value of these new technologies. So we've done this in a bunch of places already. We don't have time to go through all of these case studies on this slide, but I'll zoom into the National Museum of Computing, where we worked with them to deliver a neurodiversity support through simplified stories. So to explain what this means, they have an exhibition on Alan Turing, at the moment. And for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who created the bomb machine, which is the machine that cracked the Enigma code. And I find stuff like this very, very interesting. But for the younger audience, so kids between 6 and 15, it's a little bit difficult to understand exactly what these exhibitions are showing or what these displays are showing. So we identified this use case with the Museum of National Computing, and we worked with them to build a proof of concept where you can basically type in your age into the app you get when you go into the exhibition, and then it will generate a summary description of what you're looking at in real time. So it makes it really good for some of the younger generation who maybe this is a bit too complex for. It simplifies that through the use of AI so they can understand what they're looking at and how cool it is. I'm going to hand over to Owen now, who's going to take us through some of the other case studies for migration and application modernization. Owen?
Thanks, Danish. Yeah, just a couple of case studies to highlight here. This first one that we have for you is an example of when we worked with a UK public sector department. They had an Oracle e-business application. It was out of support. It was old. It was running slowly. It was very expensive to host. So no single compelling event, but quite a few good reasons, business reasons to migrate to the cloud. And it was something that this organization had tried before and not been successful in. So we went in knowing that we were really going to have to lean on the discovery process to make sure we could get this right. We managed to migrate the application within 6 months. We stabilized it. We did a little bit of modernization, and not only did we deliver that saving, but we delivered significant performance improvements, which you can see a little bit about on the slide. So I thought that was a really good example of how migration can deliver a business benefit. And then this next example that we have is SpiderRock. So for those who are not familiar, SpiderRock are a Chicago-based technology provider. They have a high-performance cloud-based trading system for institutional clients. And they approached us for help converting a large legacy code base from Perl to Python. And we were able to achieve that by using automation and AI technology to improve accuracy with that refactor and reduce the amount of time it took, down by about 87% on average for a chunk of code. So a really interesting application of AI there in practice.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Owen, for taking us through that. So just to quickly conclude, we've talked about the challenges of migrating, maximizing value once you've migrated, and effectively embedding AI, and how a thorough discovery process is not only the key to addressing these challenges, but also how it accelerates those efforts. If any of the challenges I mentioned resonate with you, we'll open the floor to questions in a moment, but please reach out to us on our discovery process so that we can connect you with the version 1 SME to go through it in more detail, as well as showcase the portfolio assessment tool. If you're looking to kickstart your AI journey, those workshops that I mentioned earlier, we offer as a free starting point, so definitely reach out if you want to connect on one of those. I'm going to end the presentation part of this webinar here, and now we'll open the floor to some questions. So thank you for listening to that. I'm going to open the floor now.